Why we're surrounded by...
Hi, I'm Damien Baxter on the Creators Unlocked podcast with LiveLink. I'm joined today with Amelia Sordell. Hello, Amelia.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Amelia is the successful founder of the personal branding agency Clout, who brands people, not businesses. Am I right in saying that?
That is correct, yes. People, not businesses.
Yeah. We spoke earlier this week as well, didn't we? Just to have a little catch up. And I was quite taken aback when you told me you were somewhat of an adventurer as well.
Yeah, I love that's why you've started this.
That's how I'm going to roll.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think everyone probably looks at, maybe, I don't know why, but I guess I give off the probably Dubai holiday vibes, and like that, I think we were speaking about it. It's like my literal idea of hell. Like my fun time is like, take me on an adventure holiday. Let's go kayaking, snowboarding and stuff.
I was quite taken aback, actually. Before we go into the serious stuff, I just want to sort of dig into this a little bit. I was really taken aback when you told me that you were going to go on a hiking holiday and that's how you're going to spend your time and your money. Where are you off to next?
Iceland.
What's the plan there?
Oh God, what's not the plan?
Yeah.
We're literally doing everything. We're going, first day we're doing hiking. Next day we're doing like the full Golden Circle tour. We're doing dry suit diving into the tectonic plates.
Oh, amazing.
Husky sledding, whale watching, like literally slamming it all into a 6-day trip. So I'm really excited to go.
Bit of wild swimming as well. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
They like jump into freezing cold pools.
Oh yes, I have seen that. Yeah, Norway apparently quite good for that type of stuff. So that's next on the list. I think probably spring, autumn next year. So Norway.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Well, yeah. Good luck and enjoy your time in Iceland.
Thanks. I'll try not to freeze.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump into the professional stuff if that's okay.
Yeah,
so you came straight out of university. What did you study at uni? Sorry.
Ironically, public relations.
That's right.
Yeah, so I did PR at university, and to be honest, I wish I hadn't finished my degree. It was a total waste of time, but I have no regrets. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But during my summers whilst at university, I went and did public relations internships at Marks & Spencer's PR, Hillgate PR, which is quite a well-known agency. I worked at Myla Lingerie, which is a luxury women's lingerie brand. And during those internships, whilst learning more than my degree had ever taught me or could teach me, I also kind of worked out that I didn't want to sell my soul to the devil, which is what was required to be quite good at PR.
Who was the devil?
I don't know, Prada. But it was it's one of those things where you were on call 24/7. If a thing came in, you had to be able to respond to it. And I just thought, like, I don't want this for my life. And so I left university with that degree and went into sales, into event sales, because I was like, I'm not doing PR. But ironically, we're sitting here and I run a PR agency, so it's done full circle.
So you were literally fresh out of university. You went and did the PR and the advertising. When did you have that moment where you thought, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm going to start my own journey and my own business and see where that goes.
It was almost a year to the day after I started my first graduate job. So my first graduate job, as I said, was event sales. And I enjoyed it. Like, I did enjoy it. I got a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. I got to have difficult conversations and like all the things that I think anyone should learn how to do for any part of their career. But I got a year in and I was just like, my boss is a bit of a nightmare. Like props to her. Like, I'm never going to speak badly about her because she taught me so much, but she was a hard ass. Like, if you can imagine what I think a lot of people would describe now as like a toxic boss, like that was her. But she was lovely and had all her own shit going on at the same time. But like, she was very difficult to work with, I think, as a 21-year-old. But I'm very grateful for the experience because a lot of what she bestowed onto me in terms of like grit and resilience and like just get shit done, like stop complaining. Like, I'm so grateful for that experience. So I got about a year in and I was kind of like burnt out from working in that environment. Made a bit of money, did quite well, learned I was very good at selling stuff, which was great. And kind of thought, well, I've sort of worked in work now and done that, and that's a bit boring. I really want to work for myself. And this didn't just come out of the blue. Like, I've always had little side hustles going on. Like, my parents jokingly say that I used to charge them like £1 to give them hand massages, and I'd try and sell my toys out the front of the house. And I was always had some little hustle going on. I sold brownies to stoners at university. Like,
what kind of brownies?
Normal brownies.
Yeah, okay.
It was more for the munchies than for anything else. But there's always been a part of my brain that's like, I could do that better, or maybe I could make money out of that. And it's just been constant. And so when I left the job, the obvious thing for me was, we'll just start my own business. And I started a women's wear fashion brand, because what 21-year-old girl doesn't want to have their own fashion label?
Yeah.
And I grew it quite quickly. I got funding. I had it stocked in, I think, 13 boutiques internationally. ASOS were courting us to do huge orders on their website. So year one was really successful, like made a profit, like enough to pay myself like $2,500 a month, which for that kind of business for a 21-year-old, I was like balling, like
Smashing
loving
it.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I got to call myself the managing director of a business at 21. Like I was like,
CEO.
oh my God, I'm so important.
Yeah.
But year two, like my hubris and my inexperience and my arrogance in thinking that I could do it alone, and not have any support from anyone, not have any help from anyone, not have anyone advising me, basically meant that the whole business just went bankrupt within, I think it was like 3 or 4 months into year two. And that was 100% on me.
So was that as a direct result of just taking on too much at once, or just the fact that the things you did take on, you just had no experience in?
I think it was a number of things. Well, mainly it was, I was just completely inexperienced and didn't know what I was doing. I was going, right, these people want an order of our brand, we'll just give it to them. And so there was no real thought process behind like vetting clients, like, do they have enough credit to be able to buy this from us? Or like, are they even making enough revenue to complete the order? Like all these things that are normal fashion, like, because the way that fashion works, right, is you do a certain number of collections each year. Obviously you've got the big brands will do 6, smaller brands might do 12. Like it just depends completely on the brand, and also on the price point of your product. Like if you look at something like Zara, they do a new drop every 4 weeks. Like it's crazy. However, the way that it works in retail is, if you're a clothing brand and you want to be stocked in a retail store, the company will order the next season from you ahead of time, right? Because the cash flow pieces, we don't pay up front for the things to be manufactured and then sell the pieces. You order the pieces, we manufacture them to order, and then they get delivered. And to place the order, you have to put a deposit down. So 30% they'd put down, and then the rest is paid on delivery. I got our biggest order that I'd ever had. It was like 60 grand, which in retail price is like hundreds of thousands of pounds. Like that was the cost for us, which is about double what it cost to manufacture it. And they put their 30% down. I didn't vet anyone because I was like, oh my God, we got this massive order. It's amazing.
Just blindsided.
Yeah. And between them placing the order and the stuff coming in, they ceased to exist. And then I had this ridiculous amount of stock that I needed to sell. All of us other retail companies that we were working with had got their stocks. They didn't need any more. I wasn't getting the traffic through to the website to be able to shift this stuff. And we were right in the middle of the season by then. So that like, and this wasn't cheap stuff. This was like leather coats, fur jackets, like leather skirts, like things that were high ticket items, like £400, £500. So quite difficult things to sell unless you have a very strong brand around you. And I'd built up enough of a brand and enough credibility with our customers that they I just did sell quite a few things on the website, but not enough to be able to cover that 60 grand hole. And so, it was a case of, do we liquidate everything and shut it, or do I take out a loan against my personal stuff? And at 22 or 23 or whatever it was when that happened, I was like, do I personally really want to guarantee this? Because I'm currently a limited liability company, right? If it goes under now, like, I'm good.
It's on cloud,
obviously, aside from the person's investment, I'm good. It's only 2 years of my life, whatever. Or I need to guarantee this personally. And to be honest, to go back to your earlier question, like, why do you think it failed? It failed because I didn't believe in it. Like, genuinely, I look back on that now and I was like, if that was clout, I would have done whatever it took to make that work. Like, would not have even been a question. Of course, sign my mortgage like as collateral, no problem. Like, it wouldn't have even been a thing to me, because I'd know that I believe in clout so much that I would have figured it out. But either side, I just didn't. I just wanted to run a business. It didn't matter what it was. And so although my potentially like business acumen was there, the passion for what I was doing and the purpose piece wasn't. And so I didn't have the motivation to do whatever it took to get it over the line. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to that can relate to this even from an employee perspective. If you don't believe in something, you're never going to put in the effort that's required to be successful in it. And so of course it failed because I didn't believe in it.
I'm kind of jumping ahead in my questioning here, but it's perfect time to ask it. What is the big difference with clout then? Why do you believe in clout so much now, as opposed to the business that you ran, the clothing business that you ran previously? What's the difference? With
the clothing brand, I just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to work for anyone else. So what can I do? The piece of wanting to be the business owner came before the idea, right?
So an ego thing, really.
100%. 100%. I was like, I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to work for myself. I'm way too smart to be here. And to be honest, like that the thing of thinking I'm way too smart to be here, super arrogant. But at the time, I was way better than where I was. Like I was selling like millions of pounds worth of stuff for that company and getting paid nothing to do it.
That's a problem. So
like what I should have done, again, no regrets because I'm here where I am, but what I should have done, and any advice I would give someone else in that similar position, is just go and work for a better company. Go and sell yourself. I was in sales. I could have gone and sold myself to anyone else and I would have been paid like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 grand more than I was being paid at that company for delivering the same results. But yeah, the difference is now I didn't intend on starting another business. There was no part of me that ever wanted to go through the humiliation, the shame, the everything I felt with that failure. Because you got to understand, my identity was tied to that business. I was the 21-year-old who'd appeared in Daily Mail as a CEO of this business. That was humiliating to be like, I failed. I was so big and I was all this amazing person, and now I'm nothing. Like calling my parents, being like, can I move back in with you because I have no money and I literally can't even afford to get to your house because I have no petrol in my car. Can you come get me? That was humiliating. But now clout has come about because I'm so passionate about personal branding, which sounds crazy, but it doesn't stem from the fact that I think everyone should build a personal brand. It stems from the fact that I think everyone should reach their potential, and building your personal brand and being able to be in control of your reputation and in control of the opportunities that you're attracting is life-changing. Like, I know that sounds just wild, but it like building my personal brand has literally changed my life. Like I've gone from living in a 3-bed townhouse in Burton with my ex-husband to moving down to London, buying a new house, leaving an unhappy marriage, like being able to take my kids to places I've never been before, all because I've built my personal brand on LinkedIn and I've attracted all these opportunities to me. Like I'm reaching my potential now because people know who I am before I've even walked into a room. And I want people to be able to leverage their personality to gain an advantage in whichever market they're in. So although I'm super passionate about personal branding and I will talk for this entire podcast about it.
Please do.
It's so much more intrinsic than that. It's all about confidence. It's all about potential. It's about helping people like just be the best version of themselves, which sounds so wanky, but like it's not fluffy. It's like it's so important to me. And that's the difference between either side and clout is like this is organic. Like I started this because I just wanted to do something that I loved doing and get paid to do it. And now I've accidentally built this business and I'm just like, well, we'll keep going until it, like I was saying to you a minute ago, well, I'll just keep going until it stops being.
Yeah. And even then I don't think you're going to stop.
Probably not.
No. So, well, it's very clear talking to you that you're incredibly driven and incredibly passionate about what you're doing. Where does that even come from? You were saying about trying to sell brownies to potheads and, hand massages to mum. Yeah, I bet it was. But, that must have stemmed from somewhere. Was there a role model growing up? Was there a moment in your upbringing that triggered this?
It's funny because there's no entrepreneurs in my business, in my family. There's no one who has their own thing. My dad was always very driven and super smart, and he was always very hard on me about like grades and working hard and whatever. And at the time, I look back at when I was a kid, I was thinking like, you're so unfair. Like, just let me live.
Like your boss at M&S or wherever you were.
Yeah. It was at a different business. And my boss at M&S was lovely and is my mum's friend. So I should speak nicely about her.
For the record. Yeah. Got it.
Actually, she wasn't my boss. She was like my boss's boss's boss.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes me sound like I got that job because of my mum, and that wasn't the case at all.
Didn't judge you at all there, Amelia.
No, but I'm super conscious about that because I do think there is such a privilege element to be able to go and do like internships during university, right? Like, and it's not to say that I didn't work. Like I worked in a nightclub 5 nights a week, so I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning to make that happen. But I think it's important to note, like, people are able to get these opportunities because they have doors opened for them.
Your dad was driven.
But my dad was driven, yeah. And he still is. Like he works super hard and I work super hard. And also like a big part, I sort of learned from him that a big part of your identity is tied to your work. And I feel like we live in a society right now, people are like, don't tie your work to your identity to your work. And I'm like, but why? You spend your whole life pretty much at work. Why wouldn't you want to tie your identity to your work? It should be about what you want to do. And I'm not saying, die working, what I'm saying is find something that you actually really enjoy. And of course there's going to be days that suck, but like that's life. But something that you want to get out of bed for. And my dad really enjoyed for a long time his work and like the challenge of it. And he worked in finance and macroeconomics, which is like highly intelligent and blows my brain. I have no freaking idea what he's talking about and bores me to death. But he was very, very driven and very, very successful and like the top at what he did. And so I used to watch him, leave the house at 7, get home at 8. And I think a big part of my work ethic, at least, I don't know about drive, but definitely work ethic has come from watching my dad do what he did and be like, I can do that. Like if he can do what he's done, I got this. Especially as when I was at school, I was kind of made to feel a bit stupid because I learned differently from everyone else. Like I wasn't, I know like most people have the same school experience of like, this is the curriculum, this is how we're going to teach it. And obviously the people have got like learning difficulties, or if they've got a different way of doing things, we all learn different ways. And if someone's a bit more curious than others, like I really got punished for being like, but why are we doing this? Why are we doing that?
For
why
questioning.
Are we doing it? Yeah. Like it was just like, well, because I said so. And it's like, well, that doesn't teach me why. Like
punished for curiosity.
Yeah. But you've got to understand, like the first secondary school I went to was like a very strict private school. Like it was one of those ones where it was like, you do what we say. And that just did not work for me.
Yeah.
Like, so I was in detention every single week.
Just stubbornness.
Yeah. Basically I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like you're wrong, I'm right. And obviously like 13-year-old doesn't really go down too well.
Yeah.
But for a long time, that residual feeling of like, you're not good enough has given me probably a chip on my shoulder, which is where my drive comes from. Because I'm like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. You all peaked too early and I'm just winning, or I'm going to win. So
those experiences when you were sort of 13-year-old Amelia have been the reason for the success of Amelia today.
Doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. It's really interesting, again, just jumping questions here, but we spoke on the phone very briefly, didn't we, the other day about hustle culture. So I'm from a background where it's very much work hard. All my friends, all my family, I'm from Lancashire, it was Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, sometimes much earlier, so the 7, 8 till 5 or 6. And it was very much that idea of you get up, you work hard, regardless of whether you enjoy your job or not, you get out there and you do it. Is that quite similar to your experiences as well?
Hey, it's Mel at LiveLink here. We're making it possible for creators and experts to teach anything online. It is the easiest way to monetize your audience. We'll even sort out your video editing and email marketing for you, leaving you to do what you do best, creating. LiveLink.vip, where creators and experts teach.
Yeah, like every time I talk about hustle culture and stuff like that, I have to put like a disclaimer of like, I know I'm going to get cancelled for saying this, but I feel like people need to be more honest about what it takes to be successful at something. Like I'm not by any stretch of the means. I know when you did your beautiful intro, but like she's the successful, like I really don't feel successful. I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of where I'm meant to be yet. But I do think if you want to be good at anything, you've got to put work in. If you want to be good at painting, you have to practice it. If you want to be good at football, you need to practice it. If you want to be good in the gym, you want a great body, you need to go to the gym. Like this whole idea that you can put in even it's not about the hours, just caveat. It's not about the hours, it's about the effort, right? But this idea that you can put in a bare minimum effort and get maximum results, like work smart, not hard. I'm like, whatever. Have you ever met a multi-millionaire or the best painter in the world or Messi and they've gone, don't worry about working hard, guys. You just work smart. Of course they fucking haven't, because they put in absolute yards to get to where they are. Cristiano Ronaldo is a great analogy of this. If you look at Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo on their basic talent level, Messi is so much better than him. Like natural born talents, you look at the two of them, it's undeniable that Messi is naturally more gifted than Cristiano Ronaldo. But Cristiano Ronaldo works his absolute arse off. Like that man trains, eats, sleeps, drinks. Like, everything is like Djokovic as well, attuned to being the best at what he possibly can be. And now they're probably on the same level, I would argue, if not one of them slightly better. And I think that's a really good example of, yeah, you can be talented and yeah, you can work smart. But if you want to achieve something, you have to work hard. And that makes people really uncomfortable because potentially it highlights their inability or unwillingness to do so, because some social media guru told them that they don't have to work 9 to like 10 p.m. at night. They can do the bare minimum and still be successful. Probably because they're selling a course on how to make you do it. Yeah,
absolutely. So do you think there's quite a few people out there that are being blinded by this message of find the right balance, work smart, not hard? Do you think that's a big problem right now?
My thing is, look, when you get to a point where you can afford to have balance, then like have it. Like I think there's a reason why, particularly when we look at London, right, and any kind of cities, there's a reason why people between sort of the age of 35 upwards tend to move out of the city and commute in or do whatever, and that's because they can afford to do so, right? Like you're in a more financially better position to be able to do so. Working is the same thing, right? If you're in a position where you can go find more balance, it's typically because you can afford to have that opinion. I see all of the CEOs talking about this on LinkedIn, doing this whole like, guys, like don't do what I did, don't work yourself into the ground, have balance. I'm like, that's great, but you can afford to say that now because you're sitting in your mansion in fucking Surrey, driving a Lamborghini after having worked yourself into the ground for 10 years to get your business there. Like advising people and telling people they don't have to work hard is setting them up for failure. You are literally setting people up to fail. And I'm not saying burn out. I'm not saying kill yourself. I'm not saying like, devote yourself to work only. Of course, rest is an important part of high performance. We all know that. You don't have to be a genius to figure that one out. But my God, like let's stop telling people that they can do the bare minimum and get remuneration and get pay rises and promotions and billion-dollar unicorn status by working smart. Like it's just a farce. And I think there is a real responsibility for people like me who are running quote unquote highly successful business and high performing businesses to be like, hey guys, by the way, this is what it's really like. Because there are so many people who are willing to put on this front of like, it's so great and it's so easy and it's so like, all I did was these 3 things and these 3 hacks. And it's like absolute bollocks.
So do you think you're working smarter now than you did when you had the fashion brand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or harder?
But I'm still working hard. You can work smart. The thing is, the smart hard thing for me is total semantics. Like, in order to be smart, i.e. efficient, productive, etc., you have to also work hard because there's no point in you setting up the perfect automation on Monday if you don't actually going to implement it. Like it's just semantics. Like either way, you have to work hard. And most people who say work smart have already worked really hard for 10 years to work out how to be smart. Like you've got to, either way, you have to put in the work. It's
prioritization, isn't it? And where to focus your efforts. So I read on your LinkedIn page, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, you're looking at me in shock at the moment.
What have I said? I've said a lot of stuff on my LinkedIn page. What haven't you said,
Amelia? Yeah. So I read that you were sat in the corner of your bedroom and you had this idea to start the clout.
I like that.
The clout. Yeah. What was the first thing you did when you had this sort of epiphany to start clout? The very first thing you did.
The first thing I did actually was I called my friend and said, so he's my ex-boss and still a friend. And I called him and said, I had a dream about you last night. And he went,
as you do.
He went, what do you mean? I was like, no, not like that.
Yeah, okay.
I said, I had a dream that we started this business. Because for context, we used to work together. He was my chief commercial officer and I was the marketing manager, B2B marketing. So we worked very closely together. And we used to kind of try and educate the company that we were working on how we can be building, personal brands and all that kind of stuff. And it was a real bugbear for me that I was working in a service-based industry and none of the people delivering the service, i.e. the product, wanted to market themselves and the CEO didn't believe in that anywhere either. And I said, what if we did this as an agency? Like, what if we could do this for people? And he was like, you're nuts. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, you crazy. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And he was like, well, go on then, give it a go. And so the next thing I did was register the company, hand in my notice. There was like, a decent amount of time between that. I think I called Andy in like April. I didn't hand my notice in and register the company until June. And then August we went for it.
Hang on. So you in April, you handed your notice in April.
In June, yeah.
Right. So
there was like at least 3-month period between me having the idea.
So did you make any cash between April and June?
No. Well, okay, so this is a hack for anyone.
So no proof of concept?
No, there was, but it was on someone else's dime.
Okay.
So I decided that I wanted to build this. So I already had a personal brand. I already had like 13,000 followers or something. People were already DMing me asking for advice on personal branding. And I'd already started to make my personal brand about personal branding. And so when I came up with this idea for the agency, I was like, well, how can I test whether or not I'm going to make money from this? And so I positioned these workshops, these personal branding workshops to my then employer and that we could sell them. And they're like, great. So I started delivering these workshops while being paid by someone else, worked out the formula, worked out how we should market them, worked out blah, 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 blah. And then after a period of time, I was like, well, I'm doing like 5 of these a month now, or 3 of these a month. That's about what my salary would be. So bye.
Off you go.
And I think there's such a lesson in there in that sometimes people feel constrained by employers of like, oh, I can't start my own business because I have no safety net. I have no, if I quit, then like, what am I going to do? instead of looking at it as a constraint, look at it as an opportunity to get paid to like mess up, get paid to make mistakes, get paid to learn what you want to sell. You know, I had this discussion with my friend recently who wants to leave his job, and he said, "Oh my God, it's like 3 months." And I was like, "No, look at the 3-month period as like a grace. You're getting paid for 3 months to go and make connections with people and like DM people and having a reason to speak to them and like blah, 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 blah." And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like a really good way to look at it." So I used those 3 months to like basically prove to myself that I could make money doing this.
So the 3 months being the notice period.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then when I launched in August, I had my first 2 clients 4 days after I announced I'd launched it.
So when did you hire your first employee?
Month after that.
Amazing.
So, 2 months. So technically started in August, and then I hired Danielle in October.
Still with you today?
Yeah, she's still with me today.
I follow quite a few members of your team actually on LinkedIn, and they are all creating personal brands.
Yes.
I feel like they've got a role model in their life that's helping them a lot with
Shoving
that.
a rocket up their arse on a daily basis. Yeah. No, look,
Yeah.
I think it's important for their career that they do it. And like, I'm not naive enough to think that people are going to be with me forever. Like, I'm not stupid. So it's important for their career. But also I think if you're going to be selling a particular service, like you bloody well need to know how to do it. Like it's all good and well me being like, "Oh, this is how you build a personal brand," but I'm actually doing it. Like I'm the one posting my content. I'm the one that's writing the content. I'm, aside from the video editing, which I obviously give to a professional, like everything is me. I think it would be really hypocritical if I had account managers being like, "Oh, we think you should be doing this," when they're not actually doing it themselves. So yeah, we are the product that we're selling.
So on LinkedIn, I guess because you are also a personal brand, and a lot of your employees, if not all of your employees, are personal brands as well. Are your employees getting approached from brands for brand deals, and how does that sit with you as their employer?
I mean, loads of them get approached for brand deals. Loads of them get approached by headhunters. Like,
Okay.
We have, I reckon at least once a week, someone gets headhunted. And they normally screenshot it and put it in the general chat, and someone else will go, "Hey, I got that too." And then someone will go, "Wait, you guys got that, not me?" And it's like, it becomes like a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Which gives me, like, obviously we're laughing about it, but gives me a lot of joy because it means that people are so bought into clout that, you know, they want to stay regardless of what approaches they're getting. But yeah, like, look, the thing is, the clue in the name is personal brand, right? It's obviously in my interest for you to build yours because it's going to impact my business. It's going to mean we can reach more people, blah, blah, blah. We all have pink heads. Everyone knows that we're clout. But I think it's really important that you don't ring fence what people can and can't do with that personal brand because it is personal. Like when people first join, I sit down and go, "Right, what do you want to be known for? Like, what are your aspirations in life? What can we position you as strategically that's going to get you to the end goal of whatever?" And so there is definitely a strategy behind it, and I help them, I support them. Like for a long time, normally when people first start posting, they'll send me posts and be like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Well, I would do it like that." And we have kind of a back and forth about it. And there's only been one instance where someone posted something and I messaged them and said,
Probably not.
I said, I'm not gonna tell you to delete it, but I've had an email complaint about it, and I don't feel comfortable with it, but I'm gonna let you decide what you want to do with it.
Can you spill the beans?
I don't want to embarrass that particular person.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's fair to out them like that because they're a really important part of the business. But yeah, I just said, "Look, what do you want?" And it was something they were really passionate about, right? But to me, the tone was wrong, and I think it was received badly, which understandably, like I received it badly. I read that and I was like, "Whoa." But I said, "Look, what do you want to do about it?" And she was like, "Well, I'd like to keep it up." And I was like, "Okay, you can keep it up then."
Oh, well, good on her for keeping it up.
Yeah.
Or him.
But that goes back to what I was saying about like the personal branding piece. Like if you're going to empower your team to build your personal brand, I say this to all my clients as well, you have to empower them. Like you can't be like, "Go build your personal brand," and they'll be like, "Oh, but don't say that." Like if I've hired you for my values, then you should adhere to my values. And if you don't, then I've hired the wrong person. So either way, it's on me. But equally, if you tell people to do something and then ring fence someone, they're not going to do it. So
Yeah.
Personal brand needs to be personal for sure, even though it benefits me as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing I was going to ask you on that, actually. So I speak to a lot of creators on LinkedIn. We have quite a few on this podcast, actually. We speak about you regularly. You're often in the minds of a lot of these content creators that you are sort of their role model. A lot of them aspire to get to the stage that you're at now. They would all describe you as very successful, certainly on LinkedIn and what you're doing at Clout. Is that a perception or is that the reality? So what you put out on LinkedIn screams success. What's the reality of the situation?
It's interesting that's the perception, because I try my hardest to put out like the reality. Like when I talk about here's the things I fucked up this year.
Okay.
Like I did a post a couple of weeks ago about here are the 3 things that I did wrong. I failed at. Like, and it was like 1, I forgot to invoice a client for 6 months and there was a 45 grand hole in our Q1 thing.
Okay.
2, I did that, like, and because I think it's really like you need to be honest about what it is, and it's not all wins, right? Like, you know, I've just come fresh from the office today having to deal with some absolute rubbish that I should not be having to deal with, but because there's someone that we previously worked with who's gone off the deep end, I now have to deal with that. And of course there's little nitty picky things like that it's not that I don't share it on LinkedIn, it's just there's no one there if there was someone in my office videoing me all the time, I'd put it all out there.
Nothing to hide.
No, nothing. Like, because why would I? Like, I'm out here being like, be authentic. You can't be like, be authentic, but only like this much. Like, you know? So yeah, I think it's great that people think I'm doing well, but you know, I'm just one person and I'm just chipping away. And I don't think I'm successful. I think I'm doing all right. I'd like a pink Lamborghini. Not there yet.
Just got a blue one.
No, pink. Needs to be pink.
Yeah. Okay.
Has to be pink. I love pink. I mean, I'm wearing black. I didn't really come branded today.
Do you like our lighting as well here?
I know, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I really like
it's very pink.
It is very pink.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's lovely that people think that, but I think the reality is we look at people often, like you might look at Gary Vee or, you know, Steve Butler and be like, wow, like this is done so well. But they're just like a person that chipped away at something for long enough to make it good.
Yeah.
And I think I've been very lucky. And that's one thing that I think not enough, and this is the, like talking about creators, but like just generally in life and business and success, people don't attribute luck enough to where they are. I was very lucky that I had an opportunity to start a business in a time that particular thing just started to be taking off. And I was also very lucky that, I don't know, I've somehow weirdly developed this confidence to talk to people about it, and therefore I'm getting more business and therefore becoming one of the best in the industry at it. Luck is not a dirty word. Like, you can say I worked really hard and still say you were lucky. And I think people need to be a bit more honest about that.
Takes an element of guts as well to, in the middle of a pandemic, to say, do you know what, bugger it, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, but I'm a bit of a fuck it person. Like,
yeah, but it's clearly working.
When we first sat down, you were like, you know, what's next? And I was like, yeah, we'll just see what happens.
yeah. I want to see what this ride looks like. All right, well, I'm going to ask you off the back of that then. The big question, how much money can a content creator or a personal brand on LinkedIn who's got 130, 140, 150,000 followers, how much money can they make? Or how much money do you make?
To date, Clout in revenue has made nearly $2 million in revenue from LinkedIn.
Months?
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
Directly from LinkedIn?
There's probably a percentage of that's not directly through LinkedIn, but people have come across me on podcasts, or 100% I can say with almost 100% certainty has come from my personal brand. Indirectly or directly, someone's seen me on something and mentioned it. But yeah, like millions. But I think it's really important to note that I am an agency. Like, I'm not just one person who's monetizing my personal brand. I never had any intention to monetize my personal brand. I had an intention to build a business. And whether it be like a little tiny thing that I thought I could have like one freelancer and just me, which is what I thought it was going to be when I first started, or this giant agency that I'm now gunning for is in every opportunity that I possibly can. But, you know, you look at people like Justin Welsh, like he's just one guy. He's done like what, $2 million off his ebooks and stuff like that. So
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah,
I think he's done about $2 million. So yeah, I mean, LinkedIn particularly, oh my God, people sleep on it so bad. Like, and TikTok as well. Like, I think if you're on LinkedIn, you're doing well on LinkedIn, get on TikTok. Like, people really misunderstand TikTok as a platform. They think it's dancing teenagers. The fastest growing audience member segment on TikTok is currently like, I think it's like 28s to 35s. And if you're an agency or you're a content creator making business content specifically, like that's who you want to be speaking to pretty much. Particularly indirectly as well. Like, people really forget about the indirect access you can get to CEOs and founders and decision makers by targeting their employees. So a big part of what we do as an agency is I talk often about championing employees because I want to hire, sure, but I want to get the engagement from the people who are being hired by the people I want to work with. So it brings my content into their feed. So there's a much more strategic element to just being a creator and monetizing it. Like, be long-term greedy. Like, think long-term about how the content you're posting today is going to impact your revenue next year, the year after that. So I can say it's really easy for me to sit here and be like, I've made $2 million off my LinkedIn. But like, this is such a strategic long-term play. I've not just like released an ebook and been like, buy it. It's been like, no, like there is a real strategy to this.
Iceland.